Greetings, everyone. This is your boy Bryce from Brothers on Tennis. Probably the first thing that you recognize is that I don't have my partner in crime with me tonight. Isaac, he is out on vacation, but we have an amazing guest for you this evening. When we look back on the 2022 year, I think all three of us from Brothers on Tennis would enthusiastically say our highlight of the year was when we got an opportunity to interview both Venus and Serena Williams in New York this summer. That had been a goal of ours since we started this show a little bit over 3 years ago. So our guest tonight is no stranger to either one of those ladies. We have with us tonight Mr. Eric Hechtman, who is probably best known as the coach of both Venus and Serena Williams. And so what I want to do is I want to just go ahead and jump into it. So without further ado, Eric, welcome to Brothers on Tennis.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it is our pleasure. And I tell you what, Eric, the people don't know, we've been working on this for probably about 6 months now, trying to get this scheduled. So I really thank you for your commitment and seeing this through.
Of course. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, let's start off a little bit about who is Eric Hechtman. Where did you grow up? Where are you from? How did you get introduced to tennis? Give us the background.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Miami. I started a little late in the sport, and I've always been very competitive and into a bunch of different sports, from football to basketball, and I like the individualism to it. So I did relatively well as a junior. Wanted to stay in Miami, and I was always a big Hurricane fan, and ended up playing for and had some great moments there in college. And then right after college, didn't know which path I was going to take. I'm so competitive that I was like, all right, I'm not going to be a pro. I'm out of tennis. And I went into law school actually for a little bit. I was teaching on the side, just a few players, juniors, and I loved it. I loved coaching them. I loved seeing them blossom and become better adults and better players, etc. So an opportunity came up at the tennis club that I'm still the director of, Royal Palm Tennis Club in Miami. And, I ended up leaving law school 2008 and full speed into tennis. I was on the court 10, 12 hours a day teaching juniors, a lot of high level juniors, and playing with them, figuring out different ways to get into each player's head and get the best of them. Sometimes you make some mistakes on the way, and you figure out, a methodology to get the best out of your player. So Jessica Green introduced me to Venus. I think it was probably 2012, and I would hit with her in Palm Beach from time to time, just hitting. And I remember Serena always being there next to her, and their dad being there, and I've had a good relationship with him probably since then. So long time. And 2019, Venus called me and started working together, and we get along great and understand each other. So I've had a good relationship since then, and then got lucky enough to get a call from Serena. So here I am. So
I tell you what, Eric, if everybody was so lucky to just get a call from Venus Williams and then get a call from Serena Williams, that's what what that tells us. There was absolutely something that they saw in you, or their experience with you, or their connection with you, that told them that you would be a good fit. What is it that you think, or maybe they've even expressed to you, that was such a good fit about you and them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm relatively low key, but hardworking, ways that I would probably describe the way that I work, and to the point and honest, and coaching, right? So try to leave a lot of the fluff behind and get the best out of your player, but still always maintaining that confidence in them, right? That's those fine though. They're probably a combination of those things.
I do have a question for you. You are a self-described very competitive person, and so I I can kind of relate to that a little bit. I know how that plays out when you are the player, when you are the athlete. How does that play out when you're the coach?
Similar and different, right? I'd always say it's much harder watching and than playing, especially, obviously if you into it and you really care about the result, right? So playing, it's tough when you lose, but at the end of the day, you feel it. You're controlling every point. You feel it if somebody's beating you or you're beating yourself, at least you have that control over it. Coaching, you have a certain level of control, but at the end of the day, it's up to the player, right? So you can say, okay, maybe I should say this, maybe I shouldn't, right? You kind of all those things weighing in and out of your mind, and what are they going to decide in a match. So it's similar, and I'd say it's just as much and way more nerve wracking,
Gotcha.
but it's equally as enjoyable. I'd say that.
Right. So 2019, you start working with Venus Williams, right? So very different from the juniors that you've been working with, someone who's already experienced the height of women's professional tennis. What was different about working with someone who was a previous number one, multiple Grand Slam champions, a legend of the sport versus, your experience of working with the juniors?
Yeah, I mean juniors or let's say younger pros, it's
Mm-hmm.
you're coaching professionalism into a little bit, right? And Venus is just the ultimate professional, right? From you know how she gets ready and how she mentally prepares and how she brings everything she can to the table, and if something's not working, how to work on it and make sure that it's ready for the next match or the next moment, right? So it's the efficiency it's in professionalism, it's unparalleled. So to a certain extent, it makes life easier, and that you're you're really only consumed with somebody like Venus, the tennis. It's great, you know.
Right. Now, the other side of that is, once again, coaching a legend. I'm assuming you have other distractions, right? I'm sure that there's more demands from media. I'm sure that there are more commitments for the player that could potentially take away from practice and other things that a coach really wants to do. How were you able to adjust to that?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm sometimes I'm not the best at following up in media or whatnot. So I don't think it was a massive adjustment. I kind of professionally, I always put coaching my player first, and whatever you know, I've got an immediate first and everything's second. So, I made time for it when I was there, and media, in my opinion, is very important in sports and for the athletes. So, thank you guys for all that you do. And, yeah, I would say not really a distraction.
Oh, that's nice. We appreciate somebody having that perspective with the media. So, okay, so we know that you were working with Venus for a number of years. And then how did the Serena thing happen? How did that phone call come about?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a good relationship with Serena, and obviously, she got that itch to play tennis again. And at that moment, me and Venus were already practicing a little bit. And, here and there, very, very little. And she was just coming back from injury. And, Venus sent me a text. Hey, Serena wants to play. Would you be interested? So obviously I'd be interested, right? But, it's more, I wanted to make sure Venus was okay with it because at the end of the day, I'm Venus's coach, and obviously they're sisters, so it's a little different. Very rarely would a coach be shared by a couple players, but they're family and happy to do it.
Gotcha. So, because you have the very unique perspective of having coached and worked with both of them, can you give us at least just a high level kind of contrast and compare between the two? We know there are a lot of similarities between them, but I'm sure there are some differences as well.
Yeah, I mean, very similar. Power, work ethic, and desire to win. Right. So they've got those three glaring similarities. Every human's different, right? So they definitely have different personalities. Venus is a little more direct. Serena a little less, but you know, great personalities, talk to and have conversations with, and so it's just different how you kind of how you get your message across to them, you know.
Right.
And Venus Venus typically likes a little smaller group of people. Serena a few more, but what they both do, which is great, is they recognize what their similarities and differences are, and they make their situation work for themselves. And it's crazy. You know, they're always piggybacking off of each other for great ideas and ways to train. And it's let's say a partnership that's probably the greatest partnership in sports history. You know, between those two, not just because they're sisters, but how they basically work together to both be incredible champions.
On and off the court, right?
Yeah, exactly. Every aspect.
So, one more question kind of about the whole Venus and Serena thing. So, you clearly know them in a way that most people don't. What is one thing about each one of them that you wish people kind of knew or understood about them that probably isn't generally known?
Um, Good question. So, I mean, Venus, it's almost like kind of she is who you see she is, you know? I'd say the thing with her is everyone would think, oh, okay, there's something different, that we don't see in the media, maybe she's this or that, but no, she's authentic, authentic in the public eye, private eye, just kind of a genuine human, you know, quiet, humble, super humble for everything that she's accomplished. And so I think that would be, I know it's not something different, but it's different in that sense, you know. And Serena, I mean, she talks a lot in the media, so she kind of gives a lot of those things away, and I'd say it's pretty similar in the sense that you see what you get. But she's, I would consider her at times an enigmatic, but in a fun way, right? So, sometimes you're figuring out what she's saying and whatnot, but it's, there's nothing bad in it, and it's a really enjoyable way to talk to somebody, right? So
Gotcha.
whether it's from a coaching perspective or as a friend, she's got that that aura, right? That I think that's why everyone kind of is drawn to her as such a great athlete.
Mm-hmm. So, Eric, I want to talk a little bit about what this summer was like for you as a coach. I mean, we've already stated you're working with two of the greatest legends of all time, but one of those legends comes out and announces that they're going to start evolving from tennis, which then increases the amount of media, increases the amount of eyes that are on her. I saw you several times in Cincinnati at the practice sessions with both Venus and Serena. What was that like for you as a coach, kind of dealing with that whole, and I don't want to really use the term media circus, but all of the attention that was given to Venus and Serena being back on court and Serena potentially maybe being the last time people saw her play?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing there is having a very we were very businesslike, having a very structured and professional practice. You know, you were there at some of those practices, and really gluing their mind into the tennis, right? Always reminding them, you know, they know what they have to do out there, right? But providing that, okay, focus on X, focus on Y, you know, whether it's specific pattern on the court from the ground strokes or something specific that they're doing from a detail oriented thing on the serve, technical end, etc. You know, always having your mind just glued in there and glued in there. So you basically have those blinders on. And I think Serena did unbelievable, you know, for the amount of time she took off, coming back, dealing with all that pressure, you know. But at the end of the day, she's a champion. So she lives for those moments. And I feel like the bigger you can put the moment on her, the better she is, which, you know, it's just something I learned about her and what it takes to be a champion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's embracing those moments, and she's done that time in, time out.
Okay. So when things get kind of crazy like that for you on tour and you finally get a chance to be home and it's a break or whatever, you get some time off, what is it that you do outside of tennis to kind of just get away or to relax a bit?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm definitely more on the antisocial type of person, you know.
Okay.
So I'm not terrible at being social, but when you're around people all the time, whether it's, you know, with them, or at a tournament or even at the tennis club, you know, you're around people all the time.
Right.
So you kind of, nature for me is my break and my solace away from, let's say, humanity. And you know, I love going out there with my kids. My kids love nature and exploring, fishing, and so luckily enough, live in South Florida, which is, you know, some of the most tremendous outdoor activities you can do, you know, if you really dig into it. So say every chance we get, we're out there constantly. So
I was going to say, because, you know, obviously I follow you on Instagram and there's many times that I'm liking the posts from that you do of your kids with, and sometimes I get a little scared for them when they're catching certain things or whatever. Did they get the love of nature from you, or is that something that just kind of came out of them?
yeah, I mean, a little bit of both, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted them to, you know, just kind of understand the world around them from a young age, just be exposed to everything, sports, music, the outdoors, you know, and kind of touch everything. So especially once COVID hit, I mean, they really got into the outdoors. We got the Everglades here, which just has so many amazing things, and just seeing it raw on, you know, they just were drawn to it. Then they got into fishing, you know, and now they like going to the canal and not just fishing, but catching things with their hands. So one step further, one step further. So, you know, I've got a bit of knowledge about it, but I've had to, you know, sharpen my expertise in that area just to make sure I'm guiding them correctly and, like you said, safely.
Right.
So, but yeah, I'd say they, you know, it's like anybody, right? Venus and Serena thrown into tennis by their parents, their dad. Um, you know, you never know what they're gonna kind of grab onto, and you just got to go with it.
Right. Now, although Isaac is not with me here tonight, he would kill me if I did not ask this question. If you've watched any of our content, you know, we're big music guys. So who is it for you? Who's in your headphones? Who do you listen to? What type of music do you like? Who are some of your favorite artists?
Man, it's such a wide range. You know, I'd say most consistently for me, it's
Mhm.
country music and Chris Stapleton, number one.
I
Right. So
love
I'd say,
Chris.
yeah. I mean, luckily enough, I was able to go to his concert that he had in South Florida. We got to meet him, and man, is he just incredible musician, you know? So, in my opinion.
When I went to go
Two,
see him in concert, the thing that blew me away is I did not know he was as good of a guitarist
oh,
as he is.
unbelievable.
I mean, that blew my mind.
Yeah, I mean, is he's the ultimate in my mind. So I think I told him that I play him probably 20% of the time, right? He's like, oh, I guess that's better than zero, But if you're listening to somebody 20% of the time, that's a lot, right?
That is a lot.
That's a lot. So definitely number one. Country kind of overall is probably number one genre, but I like rock. Um, I like '90s grunge rock a lot. Nirvana.
Mhm.
So I'd say that's probably number two for me. And I like hip hop from my era. So like Dr. Dre, Tupac, DMX,
All right.
that thing. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like today's hip hop. It's
Yeah.
not my thing. Not
Right.
to, I get it, people like it, but it's coming from that era. It's just to me, it's can't compare. Eminem.
hmm You know what, Eric? I find here in my house that I play older music so much more than I play today's music. And I know
Absolutely.
I'm sounding like a really old guy right now, but I'm telling you, every day I'm probably listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire, still, and the Jacksons, and for
Yeah.
me, Prince, and all of that. That's what I listen to every day more so than Drake and Cardi B and all of that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, not my thing, but
Right.
teach their own. So.
So, question for you, and I know this may be kind of taboo to talk about this, but we know at some point both Venus and Serena will stop playing professionally. And but you're relatively young as a coach.
Mhm.
Um, are you looking to stay or to continue coaching at the professional level? And if so, are you strictly, on the women's side, or would you have interest in coaching a male player?
Yeah, I mean, before them, to be honest, I've mostly coached male players.
Okay.
Some good players that got lower levels in pro and juniors and college. So that was my main, I'd say, kind of niche. Not that everyone's different, but going forward, it's to be honest, I'm not truly thinking about that. Right?
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm taking it in the moment, and when and if that day comes, um, I'll see where I'm at and what opportunities present itself, and do what I'm happiest with. I mean, I'd say I wouldn't coach a professional player if I didn't really enjoy the partnership that we would have.
Right.
So I truly enjoy the partnership that I have with Venus, but to go on the road that much away from my family, it has to be okay. I
Right.
believe in this player. We've got a good rapport, and let's go for it. So that's I'm young, but got three kids, so that's
Right. Right.
you step on that airplane, it's got to be worth it, right? So
Right. So, is there a kind of like a network on tour with the coaches? I mean, do like when you're at a big tournament, do like you and Sven Gronefeld and a couple others get together in a hotel bar, and you know, does that kind of relationship exist?
yeah, I'd say just in the whole industry,
Mhm.
between agents and people of clothing companies. Evan Zeter, who's the best man at my wedding. Uh, we've known each other since we were kids, and he's the head of tennis at New Balance now and doing unbelievable things over there. And so it could be somebody like him, it could be a fellow coach. It's like any industry. Um, what's different is in tennis, it would be like all the NBA teams, probably like it was in the bubble and COVID, right? All coming
Mhm.
together, and you have you have your social niches, and new people come in that maybe you knew from playing, and now they're on the tour coaching, and so it happens. I'd say for me, much less in New York, with both sisters going. I'd say the social aspect was extremely limited there.
Right,
So,
right,
but for good reasons, it was limited. So,
right. Well, let's talk about where we're at now. And it's interesting that we actually got the schedule for today, because I saw in the news yesterday that Venus was awarded a wild card to the Australian Open, as she should. So I was very happy to see that. And then today, I believe I saw that she committed to the ASB tournament down in Australia ahead of the Australian Open. So what does 2023 look like for Venus? And are we going to see more doubles, or is she going to focus primarily on singles? Any insight there?
yeah. So, I'm excited to go to the first tournament, the ASB in Auckland with her. And she's got that one, essentially a week of practice, and then the Australian Open. She's been practicing extremely hard all through the fall, basically like an extended off season. Like she always does. She's put in the work. She's healthy and excited. So I think focus will be singles, not doubles. And she I definitely believe she can do some damage, and I never want to see Venus Williams in my draw if I was another player,
Right.
So, or Serena, but she's excited. I'm excited, and I think we got some good times going forward.
Good, good. And then, of course, Serena, we know she has chosen to use the word evolution from tennis versus retirement. And we've seen a couple of things in the news about, well, I'm not retired, or she isn't going to play. Will we see Serena Williams on a professional tennis court sometime in 2023?
Right now she's enjoying time with her family, and that that door is always open to her. And anytime she would decide to come back, that it's obviously incredible for the tennis world, right?
Right,
But
absolutely.
she's also well deserving to take whatever time she needs, if forever, to be off the court with her family. So,
Absolutely.
vague answer for you.
I know, and I know you got to walk the line, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask the question.
Get it? Yeah.
So, and kind of in wrapping this up, is there it for our listeners and our watchers, viewers, I should say? Is there anything that you want to share about your thoughts about professional tennis? Like, let's get political here a little bit. Is there anything about the game right now, or the rules, or anything that if you were the commissioner of tennis and you would change something, is there anything out there that you would change?
Yeah, I mean, the match with Serena at the U.S. Open, it was incredible to see that type of crowd energy, right?
Mhm.
So, whatever any sport could do to obtain that type of crowd energy, whether allowing fans to be more vocal, I'd be for that. It's fair for both players, right? Would be incredible for the game. I mean, what people don't realize, tennis is probably one of the hardest professional sports, not just from playing it. Forget about that. It's the travel is probably more than any sport. The expense that these players must endure for the travel, paying for their teams travel, paying for their team's expenses, paying salaries. It's a big burden, and it's cutthroat. They only get paid basically if they win. For most players. So you know, I think tennis professionals are a relatively underpaid sport, but um, I don't know if there's a fix to that. I'm not on the business side of things there, and it would be great to see these incredible athletes that basically give up their whole life to travel 50 weeks out of the year, which privilege and a curse all in one,
Right.
rewarded. But as far as rules, I mean, I'm a traditionalist in the sense that, I like the five setters that those guys have. I mean, some people say the shorter match could be exciting, but they're thrilling, right? I mean, just battle, just ripping each other's guts out, for hours. And, then the end is near after hour upon hour. How are they going to perform being mentally, physically tired? Rafael Nadal's Australian Open last year, it's inspirational, right?
Right.
So, um, there's a lot of great things I think with it, but just empowering the crowd more and finding ways for it to be more vocal, like many of the other sports, like football, soccer, basketball, baseball. I think will bring another level of excitement, like we saw at that U.S. Open this past year.
I agree. I agree. Well, Eric, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us tonight. We rarely get a glimpse into the careers of such legends like you've provided for us tonight. And it's really neat to know that you as a coach have this very unique experience of coaching two sisters, two legends at one time. And it was great to hear about what your experience was like. So thank you once again. And we look forward to seeing you out on tour in 2023.
Hopefully, Venus will have some great times ahead. She definitely deserves it. So.
And we are right there for it. All right. So thanks, Eric. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, Bryce. Thank you.
Bye-bye.